Hello and welcome to the vlog. If you're new here, my name is Cody. I am a writer, and today, it has officially been 2 full weeks since I finished writing the very first draft of my novel, Project GWC. And so today is going to be the day that I finally get to sit and read through it and start the editing process. I guess this is chapter 1 of the editing vlog diaries, whatever you want to call them. So I'm very excited to start ripping this thing to shreds. But before I do that, I kind of have a whole day planned. We're gonna go on a little trip. We're gonna go on a little adventure together because why would we not? I'm gonna take us on a little trip to Barnes & Noble because I just feel like what better place to read your book than a place where you are surrounded by a plethora of books, inspiration for where I could possibly be one day. And so that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna take you guys with me. But before that, I wanna share a little bit about my editing plan for now, because all of this is subject to change because I've never gone through the editing process. And so I am making these goals blindly. And so I'm also, kind of figuring out my process as I go. So we're going to be learning together, and I think it'd be really funny in the future to look back at this vlog and see what my goals were and my timeline is and see what actually happens with reality. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, so the first thing that I did was I showed you guys that I got Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and as you can see, I've already marked it up, I've tabbed it up with some different things, and all the different colors mean a different thing. So in the front, I used the tabs to show. I don't know how well you can see that, but the blue tab is for character things, the orange one is for structure of the novel, green is for genre, pink is for synopsis, and red is for POV. And so I kind of have marked all those different sections just so if I'm, struggling with something for a character, I can look at the blue tabs and see, the things that it says about how to help with character stuff. If I'm thinking about something for structure, I pull up the orange tab and then I see all the things. Let's see. I can see all the things that I highlighted in here about structure in orange. And also, just because I'm that person, all of the things that I highlighted match the color tab. So blue, there's blue things highlighted. Green, there's green things highlighted. And pink, there's pink, and red. I don't even think I had a red highlighter. I just had to mark the red tab. Anyway, doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm telling you that. I have this as a quick reference for any issues that I come across as I read the first draft and take my notes, all that good stuff. Let me tell you my editing plan, and then we're gonna talk about today, okay? So this is my cute little 2024 planner. Isn't she spectacular and lovely? And of course, she matches literally everything else in my office area. She's blue. And so in here in the back, there's notebook pages, and I just kind of wrote out a little editing plan. And so I'm going to share that with you right now, okay? The first step, which is going to be today, is I'm going to do a read/listen through. Now I'm going to be using an app. There's an app called Edit Out Loud. And I think for the version that I got, it's $2.99 a month, but I'm just going to use it until I've done my first full listen through, because I feel like hearing it will, from a computer, it can't misread. So if I'm skimming through something and there's a word that's slightly misspelled, I'm going to read it the right way in my brain and I'm just going to probably miss it. But if this voice in my phone is reading it and I'm that word didn't sound right, why did it sound weird? That'll be a fun little way to catch those small little spelling errors as I'm going through. The next step in my editing plan, which actually probably should have been the first step because I've already done it, was to go through Save the Cat. And I wanted to create a beat sheet, which I really didn't actually need to, just because there's one already in here. So yeah, the orange thing that I showed you with all the orange highlights, that's going to be the beat sheet. And so instead of just making one, I can just easily reference it, and that's why I marked it, just so I can, reference it anytime I need it. So that part is actually already done, so we can check that off the list. Next, after I do my first read-through, listen through, kind of mark it up as I go, I'm going to implement those edits from the first read-through that I catch, and then I'm going to add any scenes that are needed. I'm going to compare my outline with the beat sheet of Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and going to see if there's anything that's missing or anything that kind of needs to be fleshed out a little longer, a little more, spend more time building this up, and just go from there and make notes to myself to like, hey, you need to kind of add a little something here. And that'll give me, something to brainstorm and be like, okay, so what could I do to connect these two scenes? And then I might end up coming up with something new and figuring out something new about my story and my characters. So that'll be really fun. So now that we've talked about that step, I want to show you my iPad. So I'm going to be using, I told you this in like a previous video, but I'm going to be using GoodNotes on my iPad. And the way that I have it set up, let me see if you can see that. I have like a little key on there for different colors. And so for me, things that are highlighted in orange will be like spelling, grammar things that I just kind of come across. Green is going to be for, okay, you need to add more detail here. There's not enough detail. It needs to be fleshed out a little more. Red is for delete. This is not necessary. Why is she here? Thank you for coming. Goodbye. And then purple is going to be for plot inconsistencies. Now, there's already a couple that I know I'm going to find because as I was writing the second half of the book, I remembered that I wrote a certain thing in the first half of the book, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to change that. And so as I was writing it, I had in my little outline document that I had edit as I go. And so I made little notes there of things that are going to need to change in the first half of the book to remain consistent with the second half. And so those things are just going to get highlighted in purple, and then I'm going to fix them later. So the whole point of this, and the whole reason that I'm using GoodNotes, is that I can't actually edit the text. And because I feel like if I was doing this on something where I can edit the text, I'm going to be so tempted to go ahead and edit it as I find it, and I know that that's just going to slow down the process. It's going to bog me down. It's going to be overwhelming, and I'm going to just end up getting frustrated and not continuing forward with the editing process. So we're using GoodNotes just so we can write it. We can write a little note to ourselves, keep on reading. And so that's the goal for that. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and that's what you're going to see me do while we're at Miss Barnes & Noble. After I implement the edits that I'm going to have written in my iPad, then I'm going to do another full read through and just see if there's anything else that I find and make corrections as needed. And then we're going to start the first round of beta readers. Now, I've watched a lot of videos on here about, beta readers and ways to organize beta reader feedback. Meredith E. Phillips has a whole Google Drive that she has basically just given out to the internet for free, which is like she's really doing the Lord's work. And so I'm definitely going to be utilizing some of those resources and kind of like changing them up to make them a little more geared towards my genre of thriller. She writes romance novels, specifically Regency romance. And so I'm going to kind of, just edit them a little bit to have them more geared towards the mystery thriller genre. Also, if you're interested in being a beta reader, I'm going to make a Google form. It's going to be in the description below. Fill that out. Let me know. I think the standard of what I've seen on here is that the authors give betas about like a month to read through their manuscript and, compile all their feedback and send it back. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to give a full month for beta readers to do that. And while I'm waiting on all that, I'll just find something else to do. Which I actually have a couple other like story ideas where I've already written like a synopsis as I thought of it, just so that I wouldn't forget it. Because if I don't write it down, it's gone forever into the void of nothingness. And so I have a couple synopses. It doesn't matter. So probably while I'm waiting for beta reader feedback, I'm going to possibly start just outlining and fleshing out those synopses that I wrote, and go ahead and start working on book 2 just to keep my mind off of this book and from sitting around just like that meme of Judge Judy, like, you know the one. Yeah, so after I get all my beta reader feedback and I, work through it and I implement it, then I'm going to start the professional editor process. I've already kind of been talking to one editor and kind of setting up a plan with him, and so I'm excited to to get to that, but we have a lot of work to do before we get there. And so let me finish this first little bit by telling you kind of my timeline for this. Today it is currently Saturday, May 11th. We're exactly 2 weeks out from April 27th, which was when I finished the first draft. So I've given it my 2 weeks. I've done my due diligence, and I'm ready to jump back into this story. But also I thought about it. These first chapters, like, it took me about 5 months to write this book. And so these first chapters, it's been months since I've looked at them and read them, because I've made it a point not to go back and read them as I was doing the drafting process. So a lot of the stuff that happens in the first half, I'll be like, oh yeah, I did write that. That's fun. My plan is to finish reading the entire book all the way through today. I'm going to be done implementing this first round of edits that I come up with today, hopefully by mid-June. And so I'm giving myself 1 full month to go in and implement all these edits. So we'll see if I can stick to that timeline. I really hope I can, but if I can't, then we'll adjust and adapt like we always do. And so mid-June is when I'm going to be hopefully sending this manuscript to beta readers to read. And so I'm going to give them 1 full month. I'll have all of their feedback mid-July. And so that way I can start filtering through that and implementing that. And my goal is to, once I have all that implemented, do the next read through. And I'm planning on submitting this manuscript to my professional editor by the end of August. That's the goal. That way we can go ahead and start the developmental edits. The guy that I've been talking to, he offers all the edits. So I'm going to do 2 rounds, because he said he can do 2 rounds. So the first round will be developmental, and then the second one will be a copy edit, line edit, proofread, all in one go. And so he's going to do that. I might end up doing 3 rounds, breaking do line and copy as its own thing. And then once I have all of that implemented, do the final proofread. Just because I feel like if I get feedback on the line and copy edit, then I'm gonna, be changing things. And if I'm changing things, then there are bound to be mistakes that occur. And so I just kind of want to have that proofread as like the final go. That's the timeline for editing. So I'm gonna shut up and we're gonna go on a little road trip. So here we go. Hello everyone, we are now back at home, and as you saw in that last clip, I was able to get through the entire book in one fell swoop in one reading session. I sat in that Barnes & Noble for I think it was like 4.5 hours, and I read through the whole thing, and I marked it up and all that stuff. And as I got to the end of reading the manuscript, I thought to myself, this doesn't suck? ? Now, I feel like a lot of the issues that I thought, or that I was worried that I would have, I didn't necessarily have as many of those as I thought. Like, for example, the purple color being used for like any inconsistencies that happened between like the beginning, like the first half of the book and the second half of the book, there really wasn't that many there. And I think that can be, attributed to the fact that I had such a detailed outline before I started writing the actual book. And because of that outline, I didn't really have anything that didn't match up. There were a couple small things that are easily fixable. It's not anything that's going to cause me to have to rewrite a whole section or a whole chapter or whatever. And another thing that I was worried about was making sure that each of my characters have distinct voices, because the story does follow 5 characters and then there is one character that is followed in flashbacks. I wanted to make sure that they were all distinct characters and not just 5 different names talking in the exact same way. And so I feel like I did a pretty good job of that. Yeah, there are a few spots where I could, tweak it a little bit to make it sound a little more like them. But overall, like, as I was reading through it, I was like, oh, these characters all sound like individual people. And yeah, overall, I'm just very happy with the story. And I'm very excited to start implementing the notes that I did take and then start sending it out to beta readers. Which is kind of scary because that means that someone other than me is going to read this entire book, and that is just, it's a little terrifying. But, no one ever published a book without someone else having to read it, and so I guess that's part of the process. So I'm just going to spend the rest of the night probably editing this vlog and making some food and just relaxing and being happy that I have a pretty good foundation to build off of as I start this editing process. But yeah, if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to stick around for the editing journey, this is editing diary entry number 1. And so if you want to see how the rest of this editing process goes, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be posting videos every Monday letting you know how the editing process is going. Also, if you'd like to be a beta reader for me, I'm going to leave a link down in the description. It'll take you to a Google form where you'll just, put in a little bit of information, and from that, I'm going to be, selecting just a few people to send it to get some outside opinions, because right now, the only opinion I have on this story is my own, and I'm the one that wrote it. And so I want to get, some other people's feedback and opinions on what they think of the characters and the plot and the pacing, all that good stuff. So if you're interested, that'll be in the description down below. With all of that out of the way, I will see you guys in the next vlog. Bye!